Mr. Rowe. Thank you, all of our witnesses, and I yield back, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. Let's stay with the great Commonwealth of Virginia and recognize the ranking member on the Committee of Education and Workforce. Mr. Scott, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We've heard a lot about critical race theory, and it is, in fact, an elective taught in some law schools. So you need a high school diploma, 4 years of college, probably a year of law school as a prerequisite to even take the course. Students K through 12 obviously don't have that background, and calling every mention of race CRT is absurd. And furthermore, as it's been frequently mentioned on this side, the curriculum is not directed by the federal government. So if there is a decision to teach CRT and include CRT in the curriculum, the federal government would have no role in that decision under present education policy. Now, maybe we should revisit that policy and have the federal government involved in curriculum. So I'd ask Mr. Rowe, should the federal government direct how the Tulsa race riot ought to be taught?
That's a great question. The answer is no. What I think is...
Well, okay. Well, anybody on the panel think that the federal government ought to inject itself on local decisions on curriculum, whether you agree with what is in the curriculum or not? Anybody want the federal government in that? Okay.
Well, again, I would just offer up that I think it's very helpful, again, as we've learned from the Woodson Center curriculum, there are hundreds of thousands of teachers begging for high-quality curricular resources because they feel what they're teaching is not representative. So when we have more than 200,000 downloads by teachers in all 50 states, that does suggest that there is a role for exemplars of high-quality curriculum.
We're federal government, and the question was whether or not the federal government ought to inject itself in curriculum, and the unanimous response I heard was no, we should not involve ourselves in the curriculum. And so, Mr. Kennedy, welcome back to the committee. You've been here many times, and you've outlined the problem of school infrastructure and how the problem is worse because we fund local education primarily with the real estate tax, guaranteeing that low-income areas will have a harder time funding education than wealthier areas. How do low-income communities pay for schools now?
Primarily through local property tax.
And if they don't have much to deal with, that's why schools are 47 years old on average, and some a lot older than that. They just don't build schools.
They postpone things, they patch things up, they try to make do.
And so the problem that you've outlined will persist until the federal government steps up and helps.
It needs to be a partnership, federal government, states, and locals.
Let me ask in the final minute or two, ask the panel what we should be focused on to improve academic achievement, that is, to eliminate achievement gaps, improve graduation rates, and the problems that the gentleman from Utah outlined where some schools just are simply not getting the job done. What should we be focusing on?
Well, I would suggest ensuring that low-income families have the same privileges that middle and upper-class families have, which is the power of choice, which is the ability to move to the suburbs, to send their child to a private school or religious school or to the school that they believe is best for their child. And yet, most low-income folks in the United States live in communities in which they don't have that choice. So one of the first things we could do is make it so that universal school choice is the first element towards giving people a shot that want to give their kid the best chance at an education.
Well, choice doesn't improve the schools. Does anybody else have a way to actually improve the academic achievement?
Well, studies do show that better facilities that are safe and healthy and conducive to learning improve academic achievement.
Thank you. And what else we should be focusing on to improve academic achievement?
Well, I think one thing that's very important is providing our future teachers with the capacities to have conversations across difference, to teach those in the classrooms, and to provide civic knowledge such that our students, the majority of our students recognize that the legislative branch has the power to declare war, whereas right now only 1/3 of high school students or incoming college students recognize that
So
fact.
improve teacher preparation. Anybody else?